Greetings, one and all. Another 3v3 season is coming up very shortly, so it is time to talk about the best compositions to use. We need to set 15 teams on defense and use at least 15 on offense if we're trying to full clear. At least that's just for Kyber. If you're in a lower league, then you don't have to set as many or worry about having as many teams. But there's a lot, and in between seasons, you can kind of forget what kind of comps you used before. So I'm going to try to talk about what I think the best comps are to use alongside Datacron set 9 and 10. We got a really bulky set in set 9 and a really glass cannon offense heavy set in set 10. This should make for an interesting combination. I'm not going to mention Datacrons with every single squad I'm talking about because that'll be a lot, but if there's something notable, I'm going to try to bring it up and highlight that. So we're going to be doing the same thing I did for last 5v5. We're going to talk about offensive teams, defensive teams, and flex teams, which are up to you whether you want to put them on offense or defense, because they could go great either way. To begin, we're going to be talking about the offensive squads, going kind of Galactic Legends first and then on down the line. Not in any particular order. This isn't ranked from best to worst or anything, but it might be what came to my mind first when I'm thinking about offensive teams. So to start out, we're looking at Springler Kylo Ren. I think he is very clearly an offensive Galactic Legend. Putting him on defense is not a good idea. There's plenty of cheap ways to get around him. I think Giant Knight Revan, Giant Knight Luke might still work in 3v3, not entirely sure. And Giant Knight Cal Kestis can probably put a harding on him too. But it's kind of flexible what you actually use. If I'm going to use him against Malgus or something, I might bring Daka and Zombie. If I'm taking him against Springler Kylo Ren, probably going to use Wat Tambor in the Armorer. But he's mainly going to get the Babysitters. Sith Eternal is also... He could be an offensive Galactic Legend if you're using him as kind of a solo master, but he could also be on defense too in a different comp, which I'll get to. But Springler Kylo and Sith Eternal are the ones really competing over Wat Tambor's affections. I wouldn't say that you should put him with Trench anymore. You might have gotten away with that last season with set 8 and the right Datacron set. And that did cause challenges. Like, I actually had trouble with the Trench team last season. But I think they need to go on offense with one of these two Galactic Legends. Also, Jedi Master Luke. I don't have Giant Knight Cal, so my Jedi splits are going to be a little bit different than the top end. But for me, I'm looking at probably using him with Jedi Knight Luke and Hermit Yoda or something else. It really depends. I switch up the Jedi so much, and I mostly keep them on offense. So it just depends what we see there. But you can get the bulky Datacron is really good, or you can get the Foresight one, and Hermit Yoda can juice up your damage. I don't know if that Foresight is affecting Master Luke's special attack damage, but it's probably not going to be enough to overcome just a good old protection Datacron. So I do think set 9 is probably better there. And Sith Eternal, give him a Sith Datacron with set 9. Ability block is a good one, but if you can't get it, that's not a huge deal. But if you're facing a team that has that ability block, you definitely want Wat there to help you out. Next, we got some strong teams. These are very clearly offensive teams, in my opinion. We got the Star Killer lineup, and we no longer have the Mara J Datacron from set 8, but I don't think that's going to put a huge damper on Star Killer versus Rey. Set 10 might actually be fantastic for them. Set 9 will give survivability too, but when you're going against Rey using Star Killer, it's all about your momentum and you're in the driver's seat, and even without extra bulk, Palpatine can take a whirlwind too. So I think you want to go with extra crit damage or armor penetration offense, just combinations of that to try to get through faster. And I think with all those extra stats on offense, or offensive stats, you can kind of make up for what you gained with the RJ Datacron, but we will see. CLS, I think this is the way you split his team up. You give Han and Chewie to Dash, and that is especially good against like Dr. Aphra, but it's just very powerful in general. And then CLS by default gets 3PO and Chewie and C-3PO. On defense, this could be vulnerable to Iden, so I'd be careful setting it there. On offense, it can sometimes take General Skywalker. It just depends on how you're actually using it, so might be great to take on offense. And you can get creative with Wookiee Datacrons. I think both these teams want set 10 anyway, so get armor penetration, offense, crit damage, and get a Wookiee bonus. I actually really like the automatic stun for 3PO and Chewie, because he doesn't naturally have a stun, unlike OG Chewbacca. Chewbacca, one of his specials does stun anyway, but 3PO and Chewie, you're going to stun on 2 specials guaranteed, and that's very strong. Armor penetration very strong for both these teams. They're pure physical offense. Just keep in mind, don't waste armor penetration on special damage characters like Fennec Shand or Darth Revan or anything like that. But the CLS squad with the Rebels, great candidates for armor pen. Moving a little further down, we got classic Jedi Knight Revan, and I'm not sure what setup to use for him, but I know this is definitely a set 9 team. They don't deal physical damage at all. All these characters deal special damage. We got Revan dealing special damage, Yoda's special damage. I think Jolee does physical, but no one cares about his damage. And the comp, it depends. If you need to generate a lot of damage quickly, you probably want Yoda there and Jolee. If you don't, you just want to outlast and survive, and you're facing a team that you can just nick down with a bunch of smaller attacks. Revan, Jolee, and Bastila are going to be great for that. I think if you face like a General Grievous team or something like that, you can make it work with these 3. And the Bastila Datacron is going to be fantastic there. But Jedi, I like to have most of the Jedi on offense because it really just depends what comps you're using. Bounty Hunters, this could be either Fennec Lead or RS Sang. Fennec Lead would be pretty much purely for Lord Vader. I think there's some comps that it might be good against, like Huskin, sometimes it works well, but RS Sang is more of a generalist leader. And you really got to be careful fighting Lord Vaders, especially if it's a set 9 Datacron. It's really hard to chew through, and if they have Maul and Thrawn, it's pretty tough to get it done, and you're going to need Beskar Mando in there somewhere if you have any hope to win that first shot. But otherwise, I feel like it's more of a cleanup team for Lord Vader. We got Bad Batch. They do have some of their own clone trooper Datacrons. The revive prevention might be interesting for them if you want to take out Night Sisters or something. Arm penetration is mostly lost on them because they do true damage anyway, so I'd actually just go for offense. Is the best stat for them, but crit damage is another option too because they're also just dealing crit damage alongside that true damage. Armor penetration, not a high priority for them. Iden Versio, I would love to use this on CLS. If I see CLS out there, probably pop an Iden Troopers team on them, making them more durable so they can just ensure survival. So set 9 is probably good for them. Set 10 can work too. If you're not worried about dying, set 10 would be more optimal with lots of offense, armor penetration. I think armor penetration is fantastic for this Hux team. They're not going to get any kind of boost from the level 3 or level 6 because of their dark side, and set 10 is only light side. Armor penetration is fantastic for them. They get tons of extra damage. It's been a while since I actually just looked at the Omicron. But they gain 50% crit damage, and there's some extra damage in there too. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the 50% crit damage. Armor penetration and offense combines very well with that, and Sith Trooper already does a lot of damage on his own. So it's going to be a great team if you just need to punch through a single target really fast. So we'll see how much you can actually do with the Hux First Order TIE Pilot Sith Trooper team, but I think they might be better this season than last. Wampa is suffering some setbacks this season. He really liked his protection up. It ensured survivability for a lot of times, but he is going to make good use out of armor penetration, but I'm not sure exactly what I'll use him on this season. General Grievous probably could work, but it just depends. I'm really not sure. We're getting to the lower end. These Shaktian clones, there are some niche counters where this is going to work really well, but a lot of times they just kind of ride the bench for me. But Shakti might be a good addition to a Jedi team or something for an extra cleanse. Imperial Troopers, not really like a backup team. It's a good team in 3v3 for sure. You take out all kinds of B and C teams. It's just a great catch-all to have around. If you get stuck with a solo Jabba, I don't know if they can do it in 3v3. But they're just a good cleanup team in general, and you want the set 10 on them. So armor penetration is going to be fantastic for Dark Trooper. He deals physical damage, and he doesn't care about crit damage. I mean, he can sometimes do it with advantage, but armor penetration is going to be great for this team, so excited to see what happens there. Geonosians, I bring him on offense because I don't think there's really any real hope for them to get holds on defense now. And they're more of a cleanup team anyway. I'd prefer to give them extra stats, make them more bulky, more annoying to get through. Maybe they could be on defense, I'm not sure. Radis, if you use Cassian, definitely use it on offense. In general, I like Radis for offense. like just period. Now I used to be all defense because I didn't really understand it well enough, but on offense, super smooth. Just pick a team where they're going to do lots of little hits on you for high crit damage. Tuskens, they were good against them when Tuskens had a special Datacron, so even without it, they're going to be fantastic. They do great damage. Radis alone does great damage, and then the exposes are great for that. But if you put on defense, you don't want to put Cass in. For an offense, you can really manipulate. You can exploit the AI because they go all in on Jin, even though she can't die. It's fantastic. Next up, we got Padme, and this team is actually pretty versatile. I mean, it's very resilient, can handle teams that do a lot of debuffs. You just got to be careful and watch out for teams that are going to do super high burst damage or like single hit damage, like a Han Solo or something. Even if they're attacking out of turn, if there's a really high damage dealer, that's where you got to be careful. But they're great at like to take care of like a second team of Inquisitors. Tuskens if they don't have the Tusken Raider Omicron. But just a lot of different stuff that I'm not even thinking of right now. You can also use Moff Gideon with this, so I could probably edit that to put him in there. And there, that's better. This I would consider a completely different variant of a Padme team, the Gidme team, and I think Ayla Secura is a good candidate right now because she has support, makes use of Moff Gideon's extra protection up from this ability. 100% protection up is going to turn to like 30 stacks of courage, which is great. And if you have her Datacron, you only need her R5 for it with set 10. She's going to be assisting a lot, which is going to make for a great combo. This Padme might assist, and just give some extra protection up, and she might stun more often. That's going to be great. Mon Mothma, more of a cleanup team. I don't think it's super great either way. Newt has a very specific job. This is an anti-Qui-Gon Jinn team, and I think we might be seeing more of those this season on defense, because if they have the Foresight level 6 for Jedi, where they're getting extra damage every time they gain Foresight, Qui-Gon gives out Foresight like crazy. So Anakin and Ki-Adi-Mundi are going to be dealing damage out of their mind, especially with extra armor penetration. So be careful there. But I don't know how much, I don't know if that's really going to stop this team, because the whole premise of the team against Qui-Gon is Jango can't be hurt at all for 2 turns. So you can withstand even like an infinity damage hit, or otherwise infinite damage hit from Anakin. He'll survive that. And say for B1, they could do 1,000,000 damage and he loses 8 stacks. And then Newt's going to come back at least once and go under stealth. So the premise of this still holds no matter how high the damage stacks on that Qui-Gon team. So I definitely keep Newt for offense, I'd say. And try to see what you can do with this. Maul, if you are going to use him with the Mandalorians, don't put it on defense. I think it's Imperial Trooper food. On offense, I still think you need to put him with Lord Vader. Lord Vader suffers a lot from not having Maul. But if you don't have Lord Vader and you have this team, Canderous and Bo-Katan's probably the best way to go, because you're going to get good banners. You're going to have a lot of extra protection. Canderous is going to assist a lot and help you out with the turn meter. We're at the very end here. Bossk with Boba Fett and Jango. So since you can run like a Fennec team with Greef and Mando, you can have a full separate bounty hunter team. If you don't end up using Jango with Newt, this is actually pretty good for teams that have revives, because Jango, if you have the Zeta, prevents revives, and then Boba, if you kill them with a rocket, that prevents the revives. This can be a fantastic team against Night Sisters, or Tuskens with the Tusken Raider Omicron. Either way. And otherwise, if you just need a lot of damage in one hit, like to take out a nest or something, Jango's your guy. Darth Vader, I'm not sure what to do with him. He actually rides the pine for me a lot of matches in 3v3, which is kind of sad. I don't really think adding him to a Lord Vader team helps out much, and otherwise you need like Savage with him to make him good on defense. So on offense, sometimes you can just make a good play with just him, Thrawn passing back the turn, having a tank, but it's really situational. And then Dash, if you have his Omicron and a good Vander Chewbacca and young Lando, they can actually punch up pretty well. I'm not sure if this takes out JML still, but it is a strong team, and since the AI doesn't know to take out Vandor first, you can pretty much exploit the AI with this one. So that is it for my offensive squads. Let me know if you think I left anything out. Next up, we're talking about pure defensive teams. Teams that they might have too much power to use on offense, because if you just use them on offense, you'd only get one battle out of them. And on defense, you can get way more. You might draw specific counters. It's be really hard to get around if you put them in the back or something. And they're just they could be teams where you're not going to get a lot of high banner potential. Starting with Java, I think this is definitely a good defensive team. It's very strong on offense too, but it's very hard to deal with in 3v3. I think it's a lot harder to deal with in 5v5. I always just use JMK on it. That's what my JMK is for. That's his purpose in life in 3v3. So drawing JMK is no small feat. Supreme Leader Kylo is more dicey here, so that Supreme Leader Kylo is one of the best Lord Vader counters. So he's great on defense either way. You might not be getting holds with him, but he's going to be a key draw. In Sith Eternal Emperor, you know, he has a reputation for offense-only Galactic Legend, and I've fed into that a lot too, but I think with this particular Datacron set of set 9, he is phenomenal in defense, especially if you give the ability block level 6 for Sith. You're going to shut down any kind of solo attempt. So, like, normally I'd want to just throw in Supreme Leader Kylo solo to take them out because you can't link up. Or even maybe your own Sith Eternal Emperor because you can link and charge up and they can't. But this puts a stop to all that. Like, if you go 1-on-3, they're going to be ability blocked the whole time and have nothing to do. And this is a genuinely scary team on defense if you see it. It's like, Malik is very difficult. Savage is amazing on his own. These are just these are all three of them solo masters, but they fit together very well. The only thing is it's very expensive. Malik juices up either a Malgus team or a Darth Revan team, and then Savage is amazing with Traya, pretty much anywhere, or a solo threat on offense. So it is expensive, but if you catch your opponent off guard and have it in the back, it can be a game winner. Bastila with Giant Master Luke and Watt, I think this is kind of expensive. It is kind of tricky, but if they have General Skywalker, he can pretty much handle it, even with all the extra protection up. So it's not as good as I thought. It kind of was a big thing for years, then came back again last season. But you can do that if you want. If you don't know, if you're not sure what to do with your Giant Master Luke, the only thing is giving up Watt is kind of a big ask. Next up, we got Seer Junda, and I'm happy to be an owner of her this season. Last season, I had trouble against her myself, but now I will proudly set her on defense. They're just very hard to get through. I don't know what... I mean, they're probably good on offense, too, because they're just so powerful. They have tons of survivability. Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum just does so much damage, and I think this actually goes really well with a set 10 Datacron. You can make them extra durable with set 9, but if you're running Kylo Ren Unmasked as the tank as opposed to Cal, you're getting reduced benefit from that overall. But I think Ahsoka Fulcrum gets so much out of armor penetration and crit damage. This attack does so much damage anyway. With set 8, I mean, there was crit damage in that set 2, and that was boosting it up. But if you add armor penetration to the equation, she's just gonna wipe out kind of basically any kind of character except a Galactic Legend, maybe even a Galactic Legend. So keep an eye out for her if you see her on defense. That's gonna be a crazy team. And I'm putting Cal with them probably. I'm not gonna put him with Rey anymore. And the Zori team, this is a little bit easier to get through, I think. A 3v3, Jedi Revan in the right combination can handle it pretty easily. Imperial Troopers sometimes can beat it. So I wouldn't really recommend this as a front wall team anymore. But Zori, if you do have the Omicron, still very good. And I don't know, could you set 9, could you set 10? Either way works. It just depends what her main counter turns out to be. So we'll have to see. And here, I know that Darth Revan and Bastila Fallen are better with Malgus. But honestly, Darth Revan leading his own team is so good anyway that I kind of think it's worth it to just give Malgus some scraps. And he's still a hard team. You can beat it sometimes with bounty hunters, but I like the ability block Datacron here that can throw a wrench in that, and then maybe you catch them off guard. But Malgus on his own is a tank. He is crazy good, so I think he is awesome on defense. Tuskens, even though they don't have a specific set 8 Datacron anymore, I think they're still really strong. Tusken Raider Omicron, I think it's way better than using the Omicron of Chieftain and having Boba Fett Son of Django, because the mechanics with the Raider reviving are just so crazy annoying. Like, you have to prevent revives, or you have to have huge AoEs. or you have to get around taunts. You have to have something really specific, and all the while, it's going to be just an annoying team to deal with. So I still think they're good on defense. And Sana Staros, I don't think it's an offensive team. This might not be the exact combo to use. Maybe you use Stormtrooper Han instead of Rolo, but I think Rolo you like to have there as some kind of damage threat. However, I wouldn't set it unless you have all the Zetas and like a really high relic Rolo, which I wouldn't recommend anyway. So not a crazy good defensive team, but if you're going to use it, I think it's on defense. Next up, we got some droids here, and I'm kind of torn on exactly what to do with Grievous. I don't know if he's going to be so good on his own in 3v3, because you can't really put B1 with him. I think it's much easier to beat. You want Magna Guard in B2. I don't know how easily Wamba's going to handle this. It just depends. He doesn't have his protection up anymore, but you don't have Separatist Datacrons anymore. So we'll see. And then Sortie is kind of an annoying team. She wants set 9, trying to threaten timeouts if they don't have the right thing. And then she can also benefit from Old Republic level 6s. And just all the extra health is really good for her. Last season I did a weird combo with Grievous on a Sortie team and then like L3. I'm not sure I'm going to do that again this time, but just some light side droids with Sortie I think are pretty good. Hondo, I think there's 2 routes you can go with Hondo. You can either give up on having a lead, have him with Quill and IG-11, but I think that still gets beat pretty easily, or you can throw him with Bam and Nest. I mean, there's honestly more ways than that, but that's the way I like to use it, because this team's just really annoying to get through. I mean, Bam is going to protect Hondo, help Hondo ramp up. Nest is going to be annoying to deal with if you take something in with a big turd meter train. They might get stuck on your Nest, which is great. I think this team likes set 10. I think you want, well, he does special damage, so don't give armor penetration. That's going to do nothing for it. But I think you want a lot of crit damage and offense. So you got to be careful. The offense stats on the set 10 aren't as impressive as armor penetration. They absolutely need offense, and yeah, he's not light side or dark side, so he's not benefiting from bulk, and the whole team's about Hondo, so it's kind of hard to know what to do with him. After set 6, he's kind of been like, I'm not sure what to do with him. But Omicron is great. I still think Trench could be annoying if you set him with the right comp. I wouldn't give him Watt, but if you're so inclined, this is probably the best team for Trench. We'll see how he does without set 8. But I think a set 9 Datacron for extra survivability is definitely the way to go. Also, Inquisitors, not great. I don't think they're an offensive team, but if you need an extra team and you've got Grand Inquisitor, you can throw these 3 on defense. I have them all at Relic 7 for the Riva mission, so they're all pretty relic up, so might as well make use of them. Definitely give them a set 9 Datacron. If they don't have the right stuff to deal with it, it's going to be hard to get through and you might time out. It's not horrible. And the last 2 are teams I don't personally have built up yet, and I'm not sure how they'll do in 3v3. Solid Guerrera actually can be pretty annoying. The way his bombs work, and he has like revive mechanics, just really annoying. I think Cara Dune and Kyle Katarn can go with him in 3v3. I don't think they need to go with Mon Mothma or Santa. I think he's better for that. Then clones, I don't know if this works, but if you run apparently a team is Cody, Clone Sergeant, and Captain Rex. Each of the, Cody and Captain Rex have a level 9 Datacron. You only need them at R5 in set 10. But you can try to make some kind of clone level 6 work. I'm not going to say, I'm not setting this. Even if I had Rex at Relics, I wouldn't set this. I feel like Rex is kind of has to be in 5v5 with Phoenix, otherwise he's much weaker with clones, but who knows, maybe he'll be good, so I include him on this list anyway. Let me know what you think. And now for our last segment, which is flex teams. Starting with the Galactic Legends at the top. Jedi Master Kenobi could go on defense or could go on offense. I still think he is the king of the game as far as Galactic Legends goes, especially in 3v3. This can take out any team in the game. I don't think there's any team where he is not going to be able to win. He might have a timeout risk against Lord Vader or Jabba, well, not really Jabba, but he's the best. On offense, if you're going to take him against Jabba, I like Commander Tano with Mace Windu. For other stuff, you might want him with Commander Tano and General Kenobi. General Kenobi is a better tank, but Mace Windu is great on offense. He doesn't act functionally like a tank, but he's great for swapping turn meter, dispelling stealth, Shatterpoint, reducing their defense, all kinds of stuff. And these three here are undefeated for me against Java, and that's what they're going to keep doing, I think. Or maybe I'll put them on defense. Who knows? You don't know. If you're facing me, I might decide to put them on defense. Next is Lord Vader, and he's great in 3v3. I think he has to have them all. He absolutely has to have them all. And then I think you either want to give Thrawn to the team or Royal Guard. I don't know how good my Thrawn is. If you have a super fast Thrawn, you probably want to stick him with Lord Vader. I mean, that's okay. But that has more of a threat to bounty hunters or any kind of cheap counters. He could pass his turn right back to Maul. Then Maul just goes off with his insane barrage of attacks, and then Thrawn can fracture a vital character. It's great. The Royal Guard, you know, is nice with Lord Vader, but I think it's mainly if you want to take him on offense, you might want to use Royal Guard. I think Thrawn is probably better to set with Lord Vader. And yeah, he really could go either way. On offense, I think he leans more towards defense in 3v3 than 5v5, but you can make good use out of him on offense too. And then Rey, she is quite remarkable. Pun dad joke there. But she definitely wants Ben Solo, and my personal preference would be Jedi Training Rey. I love the Dispel, the healing immunity, even though you get healing immunity from Ben Solo, but she can cleanse off Rey. She shrugs off debuffs on her own. My Calcassus is going with Seer, so that's where he's going, but I think he's a good option for people that don't have a Seer team up and running. And I think, you know, it just depends how Starkiller does against her each season. If Starkiller is still awesome in the hands of anyone that knows what they're doing, you probably want to take her on offense, but if Starkiller starts having trouble, that's when you can start putting her on defense and giving people a lot of trouble. General Skywalker, I used to think of him as just purely defense, but he's going on offense too. He might not get the best banners. However, with set 10, if you are inclined to use it, he can recover protection from getting buffs. Although this team doesn't get a lot of buffs, so you might not want to do that. I think you clearly want to use set 9 with protection, make him much harder to kill. Rex is going to get tons of damage eventually. They're going to stack up their damage crazy high if you're facing someone with a lot of buffs. I think this is the go-to counter against Seer. On defense, it is actually vulnerable to CLS, so don't to CLS 3PO and Chewie and C3PO, and which is a very cheap counter. So I'm more inclined to take him on offense, but it just depends. Darth Revan. This used to be the best 3v3 team in the game. Before Galactic Legends, before General Skywalker, even maybe when you had General Skywalker, this was the best team in the game. And I think it is just fantastic with set 9. I get tons of extra survivability, so it's cutting off a lot of like cheap-ish counters, like Jedi Knight Luke. I tried last season and got demolished. The ability block, again, as like with every Sith I've talked about, is great for this team, preventing a lot of cheaper counters. And if you took like even Sith Eternal Emperor and they had the ability block, it might not win. You would need Watt there too or something. Super strong team, either offense or defense. Then Aphra, she is trending towards an offense-only team because Dash, Han, and Chewie do so well against her. But if they don't have Dash, Han, and Chewie, or they've used it elsewhere, she could be a good defensive team. She's got just the core trio here, don't have to worry about 4th or 5th, but that's really the main worry. Otherwise, she is very strong. Her Omicron's not active, so she is a little bit diminished in 3v3, but still a strong threat one way or another. Then Reva. Of course, Reva is a pseudo-Galactic Legend, basically. She has Galactic Legend traits, defeats Galactic Legends, but you could use her either way. Bring her on offense or put her on defense and hope they didn't bring Traya and Savage with them. Traya, Savage, and Nihilist do destroy this team pretty easily. If you put them on defense, I think you want to give them extra survivability. Or, I don't know. It's actually kind of hard for me to say, because if you put extra armor penetration on them, you increase the chance that you wipe out Nihilist before he can kill you. And then if they bring their Traya team, the bulk isn't going to do anything against an Annihilate. So they might want set 10 actually with lots of armor penetration. And yeah, their counterpart here, Treya, is also a flex team. It is an incredible team. If Riva wasn't out there, I'd say throw this on defense every single time. But it's just such a strong team. These two Omicrons are some of the best out there. And the Nihilus is there just doing his thing, increasing cooldowns and annihilating folks. It's really just one of the best teams we have in the game right now. It's not Galactic Legends. So choose wisely what you're going to do with it. Really scout your opponent to see what they do with their Riva if they have it. If they don't have it, definitely put it on defense. And we got just a few more to round out the flex comps. Treya, Asajj, and Marin. I think this is probably the best Night Sister team if you do have Marin. Because I think the best case scenario is maybe Asajj or Talzin dies, and then you can just get a good loop going. I don't know if they beat Jabba in 3v3, but they did a good job of that 5v5, or at least getting it down to just Jabba. If you have the Marin DC, it's fantastic. Set 9 all the way. I could see you making use of a set 10 if you don't have a good set 9 DC. Some people would insist you want them to die all the time, but I would kind of play it like not against a Jabba or something, and then try to keep them alive. Or at least die slow. Because if you don't have Daka here, I think you do want them a little bit bulkier, just so you don't get all wiped out at once. Because it's a very fine line to dance between, okay, I want one character to go down, and oh, whoops, I have multiple dead. So, who knows? I don't have her ready, but I should finish her off sometime within the season, and then I'll figure out more of what to do with her there. Radis, if you use Cassian, I put him in the offensive squad, but if you have K2SO, I think that's the comp you want to use for defense if you want to set him there. But having a tank still works on offense too. It's just, if you want it on defense and you want it to be a flex, you need a tank. And then teams I wish I had, Cal Kestis might just be an offensive-only character, honestly. But he does have a Datacron, which makes his insta-kill much more accessible. So that's where I think he might be good on defense. I think Giant Luke is a great leadership for him. Revan could be good too. Just depends what you want to do. Revan, Cal, and I don't know, someone else. Drawing a blank, maybe just Hermit Yoda. It could be good, or just Jolie. I don't know. But Giant Cal is going to be very strong, and Luke, I think, is a great leadership for him just to slow everyone else down, and definitely use his Datacron if you have it. And Qui-Gon Jinn, this is a flex team. I think it could be good on offense or defense. On offense, you're in the driver's seat, so you can choose who to attack with it, but on defense, it's going to do crazy high damage and can be hard to get around. I think technically the best way to do it is to mod them all very fast so that they can beat Bad Batch. I do no such thing. I don't give them tons of speed. But armor penetration, crit damage, offense, they love it all. They love the level 6 with the foresight, and they do tons of extra damage. So look for some record-breaking hits from Anakin this season. It's going to be pretty fun. There you have it. Those are my recommended squads for offense, defense, or either for this upcoming 3v3 season. I haven't listed every comp in the game, some of them because they're not very good, like Ewoks. I'm not featuring Jawas, I don't think they're worth anything. But some I might have forgotten, so if I forgot some, cut me some slack. Let me know in the comments what you recommend for it. I'd love to hear from you in that regard. Anyway, good luck with the season. Don't forget to give a like and sub if you haven't already. Appreciate you guys. See you later.